Person should be respected because he is a human being, not because of his status. A man placed some items on the cash counter. The cashier said, "Sir, your total is $3. The man started counting his coins. A woman standing behind him said, "Sir, if you don't have money, don't waste our time." The man said, "Remove the yogurt from the bill." The cashier said, "Now it's $2. The man again counted his coins and said, "Remove the biscuits too." The woman behind him said, "If you don't have money, why do you even come here?" The man said, "I'm sorry, ma'am." The woman behind him said, "You're wasting time." The man said, "Ma'am, please just give me this pen and paper." Another woman standing behind said, "Young man, buy everything." The man said, "No need." The second woman paid the bill and said, "Please take it." The first woman said, "Hurry up and finish this drama." The second woman said, "I wish you never face hard times." The first woman said, "I'm not in the mood for a sermon." The second woman paid the man's bill. The man said, "Thank you, ma'am." The second woman said, "It's okay." The man said, "God bless you." The man left. The first woman said, "People get used to free things like this." The second woman said, "That may be possible, but no one can stop me from helping others." The first woman said, "Make my bill. I've already wasted too much time." The first woman took her things and left. When the second woman came out of the market, the man was standing outside. The second woman said, "Can I help you with something else?" The man said, "You're the same angel who helped me in the shop." The second woman said, "Thank you, but I'm not an angel." The man said, "You are to me." The second woman said, "Are you going through tough times?" The man said, "Yes, I'm unemployed and can't find a job." The second woman said, "The company I work in needs a peon. Will you work?" The man said, "You'll help me get a job?" The second woman said, "I'll recommend you. Maybe they'll hire you." The man said, "Why take a risk for a stranger?" The second woman said, "Hard times can come upon anyone." The man said, "How can you say that so confidently?" The second woman said, "You're not the only one who's faced difficulties. But if you don't like this job, that's fine." The man said, "I like it." They both left. After some time, the man and the second woman reached the office, and the first woman was already there. The first woman said, "Why did you bring him here?" The second woman said, "He needs a job." The first woman said, "This is not the right time. The owner is coming today. I don't want him to see a beggar here." The man said, "Ma'am, I'm not a beggar." The first woman said, "Whatever you are, just leave." The second woman said, "You're not the owner of this company." The first woman said, "I make the decisions in the manager's absence." The second woman said, "I'll wait for the manager. We'll ask him." The first woman said, "Understand, today is not the day for your charity work." Just then, the manager called the second woman. The second woman said, "You said he wasn't here." The second woman went toward the manager's office and the first woman followed. The manager said, "Where are last month's reports?" The first woman said, "Sir, they're almost ready." The manager said, "That's the report the owner asked for. I want everything organized before I leave." The second woman said, "Sir, sorry to interrupt, but I have something important to discuss." The manager said, "Go ahead." The second woman said, "Sir, the office needs a peon and I have someone suitable." The manager said, "You know hiring doesn't work that way." The second woman said, "Yes, sir, but we need everything perfect before the owner arrives." The manager said, "You're right, hire him. After the meeting, we'll decide whether to keep him permanently." The first woman said, "Sir, she wants to hire a homeless man." The second woman said, "He's not homeless, just unemployed." The manager said, "Enough, you both stop arguing." First woman, finish the reports. Second, hire the peon and make sure everything is clean. The manager left. The first woman said, "When I get promoted, I'll fire you first." Moments later, the second woman told the man, "You got the job. Clean the office well, the boss is coming." The man said, "Okay, I'll do my best." The second woman said, "Start with the washroom. I'll bring you a uniform." The man said, "Thank you. I'll work hard." The second woman said, "Good, get to work." The man put his bag on the floor and went to the washroom. Moments later, the first woman passed by, picked up his bag and searched it. Inside, she found a large amount of money. She immediately called the police and said, "I want to report a theft. There's a thief in our company. Please come quickly." A few minutes later, the second woman came back with the uniform. The man said, "Thank you, ma'am. Do you think the owner will keep me permanently?" The second woman said, "If you work well, maybe." The man said, "Do you know the owner personally?" The second woman said, "No, but I've heard he's a good man." The man said, "What do you think about people?" The second woman said, "I always think positively until they prove otherwise." The man said, "What position do you hold here?" The second woman said, "I'm an assistant accountant." The man said, "And your friend?" The second woman said, "She's also an assistant accountant, but senior." The man said, "I thought she was the manager." The second woman said, "No, the accountant left, and in his absence, she acts senior." Just then, the first woman arrived with the police and said, "This man is a thief." The policewoman said, "Sir, come with me." The man said, "Officer, what's the matter?" The policewoman said, "You're accused of stealing money." The man said, "I don't know why I'm being accused." The first woman said, "This money is proof. Do you have any explanation?" The man said, "Yes." The first woman said, "He stole this money from somewhere." The second woman said, "Are you sure?" The first woman said, "Don't defend him. He's a thief." The second woman said, "Then I also have the right to speak." The policewoman said, "Calm down. Sir, explain this money." The man said, "I can't explain, and there's no complainant." The first woman said, "I'm the complainant." The man said, "This money isn't yours, and you searched my bag without permission. That's a crime." The first woman said, "I did it because you're a thief." The man said, "Officer, I want to file a complaint for defamation and moral damage." The first woman said, "Look at him. He's just a peon. Where could he get so much money without stealing?" The policewoman said, "You're making baseless claims without proof." The second woman said, "You're creating unnecessary trouble." The first woman said, "I'm going to tell the manager." The first woman went to the manager and said, "Come with me. The new peon is a thief." The manager said, "What happened?" The first woman said, "I'll come. The police are here." The manager came out and looked surprised. The man said, "Sir, I didn't steal anything, and this lady is accusing me." The first woman said, "I filed the complaint for investigation." The manager said, "We have more important matters. Leave it. Officer, has he committed any crime?" The policewoman said, "Apparently not." The manager said, "Then there's no point standing here. Get back to work and finish your reports." The manager left. The policewoman said, "Ma'am, be careful. Filing false complaints without proof is also a crime." The police left. The man said, "Give me back my bag." The second woman said, "You're hurting an innocent person and putting yourself in trouble." The first woman said, "I won't let this go. When the owner comes, I'll tell him and he'll fire this suspicious person." The first woman left. The man said, "Ma'am, I should leave." The second woman said, "If you did nothing wrong, don't be afraid." The man said, "Do you want to know where the money came from?" The second woman said, "That's your personal matter, but you're definitely hiding something." The man said, "Like what?" The second woman said, "I don't know, but with that much money, why didn't you pay in the store?" The man said, "You're right. I'll tell you the truth, but first, please get me a glass of water." The second woman left. A few minutes later, the manager came and said, "What's going on?" The man said, "When people think you're poor, that's when you see their true character." The manager said, "Was this a test?" The man said, "Yes. I don't look for perfect employees, but good morals are essential. Call all employees to a meeting tomorrow. We'll see who deserves to stay." They both left. The next day, the manager said, "Ladies, be ready. The owner is coming." At that moment, the man entered and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm the owner of this company. Yesterday, I came here disguised as a poor man to see how people treat the less fortunate. Ma'am, you were the only one who treated me with respect. That's a rare quality." The first woman said, "Sir, I was only protecting the company." The man said, "You made false accusations and damaged the company's reputation. Remember, we value ethics here. I'll give you one chance to change your behavior." Then he turned to the second woman and said, "Thank you. I'm impressed by your conduct." In the evening, the man, now revealed as the owner, said, "Are you leaving?" The second woman said, "Yes, boss. My work is done." The owner said, "I want to thank you." The second woman said, "For what?" The owner said, "For being a good human being, because such people are rare these days." The second woman said, "Well, I should go now." The owner said, "Wait, if you don't mind, I'd like to invite you for a cup of coffee." The owner and the woman walked out together.